Hello, and welcome to our Turf Footballs podcast. Tuesday night, Kate. We're doing this again. Hall of Fame game. Preseason's getting ready to fire up. Training camp's fired up. So, what's going on with you? And Kate's frozen. Give me 1 second, folks. Little technical error. We'll start this here in just a second. Hopefully, she'll get her stream back. Hopefully. Still waiting. But what we'll do is we'll move on until Kate can get her stream fired out. We are very excited tonight to have Ron Clements. Hope I'm saying that right, Ron. He wrote a book about Route 66. And if you're not familiar with Route 66, it's also known as the Will Rogers Highway or Main Street of America, Southern Road. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and bring Ron in. And there is my man, Ron. Hey, Ron, how are you?
Hey, good, Lisa.
Hey, I'm glad to meet you. Hey, Kate is having some technical issues, so I'm going to wait for her to kind of get situated and come back on. But, I wanted to start off and welcome you to the show, and thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us tonight.
Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Excellent. Tell us a little bit about the Route 66. I kind of just introduced the highway of, most everybody I think in America knows about the highway. But first I have to ask you, because I was kind of, doing a little research on it and found out you're a Packers fan and your wife, Patty, I believe, is a Chicago Bears fan. So you got to tell us how you got over that, Ron. Seriously. I mean,
well, we're in the middle of baseball season right now too, and so I'm a Wisconsin native, so I'm a Milwaukee Brewers fan. My wife is from Peoria, Illinois. We met when we were both living in St. Louis, so she's a St. Louis Cardinals fan. So we got that division rivalry there too with baseball. We do both. As far as football season goes, though, the first couple of years we kind of before we lived together, we just kind of avoided each other. Even when we started living together, there were a couple of Sundays when the Bears and Packers were playing where Patty would go over to like a friend's house and I would, go somewhere else or stay home or whatever, or vice versa. So, we make it work. There was one really funny incident playing. I think it was the first Sunday night game of the year. Hi, Kate. And we were on the Major League Baseball trip when we went to all 30 Major League Baseball stadiums in one season. And there was September 11th. Tuesday was September 11th. So September 9th, it would have been 2018. And that was the game where Aaron Rodgers got hurt in the first half and then came back in the second half and led the led the Packers to a win over the Bears. And my wife in the second half was cursing like a sailor. It was pretty funny.
So you knew it was love at first sight then, right?
Sure, yeah. Well, we were already married at that point, but.
So tell us a little bit about the book. For fans know, Ron wrote A Sports Fan's Guide to Route 66. I know that you and your wife travel. There it is right there. You and your wife live in your RV. You've traveled several years now. Is it true that, going back to baseball a little bit, that you visited most every single major league ballpark?
Yeah, we did opening day in Miami, and then we finished in St. Louis in September of that year, and we covered 38 states plus Quebec and Ontario that year because we had to see the Blue Jays. And the funny thing is the initial thought when we got the RV in 2018 was that we would just do the baseball trip and be done. But then when we got, when we were finished, I was like, wow, we've been to 38 states. We might as well finish it. So now we're at 49 states. We're only missing Alaska. And we would have gone to Alaska this year if the border with Canada would have been open. But So right now I'm talking to you from Groveland, California, just outside Yosemite National Park. We're going to be going into Yosemite this weekend.
Wow.
And that's going to be our 30th national park. We were just at Crater Lake National Park in Oregon last week.
Incredible. Now, what brought you to write a book about Route 66? What were you sitting around a campfire one night and just decided, what brought this on?
Well, living in St. Louis, Route 66 goes right through there, and you see the signs. The original route that goes through downtown Maplewood, outside of St. Louis, and into Wildwood. Lafayette High School in Wildwood, Missouri, has produced 3 prominent Major League Baseball players: Ryan Howard, David Freese, and Luke Voigt. All went to the same high school outside of St. Louis, and so, and then my wife is from Peoria, so we would drive up I-55 from St. Louis and go through like Litchfield and Pontiac and Springfield, and I would see the Route 66 signs. And so I've read a couple Route 66 books, but I was just shocked that no one had ever thought to write a sports book about Route 66. It begins in Chicago and ends in Los Angeles, where you have every professional sports league represented. NFL, NHL, Major League Baseball, NBA, MLS. You've got NASCAR tracks both in Chicago, the greater Chicago and greater Los Angeles areas, with Joliet and Fontana. And those are both Route 66 towns, Joliet and Fontana. And so I was just surprised that no one had ever connected sports to Route 66 before. So after writing the Home Run on Wheels book about the baseball trip, people asked me, what's going to be your second book? And I was just like, you know what? I'm going to write this sports book about Route 66 because it's never been done before. And so that was kind of the inspiration behind it.
How long did it take you to get all your content?
We traveled we took 2 months to travel the route in the fall of 2019. The first sporting event we went to was a Chicago Blackhawks game. The Blackhawks were gracious enough to comp us 2 tickets for a preseason game against the Capitals. I do feel kind of gypped, though, because the Blackhawks play the great song by the Fratellis, Chelsea Dagger, after a Blackhawks goal and a Blackhawks win. Well, that night, the Capitals won 6-0. So we never heard Chelsea Dagger at United Center. So I do feel kind of gypped. But then 4 days later, I bought tickets for my wife and I to go to see a Bears game at Soldier Field. She had never been to Soldier Field before. So September 29th, 2019 against the Vikings was her first trip to Soldier Field. I had been there a couple times previously, but once as a fan and once working. But and my wife was happy. The Bears beat the Vikings that day. So, but then after that, we went down. I got a tour from the former principal at Joliet High School. That school is on the National Register of Historic Places. It's a beautiful limestone building. It looks like a castle. And one of the more surprising things was that I learned while traveling down Route 66, and then when we were done, we left Los Angeles December 2nd. So the first sporting event we went to was September 25th, and then we left LA on December 2nd. I went to a UCLA basketball game on December 1st. And anyway, just the number of high schools and sports venues that are on the National Register of Historic Places was kind of surprising. Joliet High School, the old high school annex in Cuba, Missouri, the Rose Bowl is along Route 66 and is on the National Register of Historic Places. And so, it was so when we were done with the trip, it took me another 7 months to write the book. So this right here, like 352 pages, is 9 months of labor, a labor of love, and I'm really, really proud of it. Men's Journal magazine included it in a list that was put out in May of the best 20 new books of 2021, and being on a list with Mitch Albom and James Patterson, Stacey Abrams, and Seth Rogen. I mean, those are names people know, and I'm on that same list with those people. So it's that was pretty cool. I actually let out we were in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, with my sister-in-law, who came down from Peoria to visit us We went to Great Smoky Mountain National Park, and my sister-in-law Veronica was driving, and I was in the back seat. My wife was in the front, and I just yelled out a "Holy sh!" And because I was shocked that I made that list.
Well, I know that I ordered the book today,
Awesome.
actually this morning, because after the conversation that you and I had about, like you said, Tom, about Florida, there's just a couple little things in there, Florida, not a lot, because of the route. But I was just fascinated and I'm excited. And I was reading some of the reviews on it and stuff like that. So we're going to do a giveaway, definitely. And I'm already telling you right now that I'm going to get your address, ship my book, because I want my book signed. Because it's fantastic. Kate had a question that she wanted to ask you pertaining to the book.
Yeah, hi. Sorry for my technical difficulties earlier.
No worries.
I just want to let you know for my day job, I work for Travel Centers of America, and there are a lot of TA and Petro truck stops on Route 66. We have all the merch. I've been to the site. I visited a bunch of the ones in New Mexico last month. I've been to almost all of our sites along the route. So when Lisa was telling me about you and your book, I was so excited because I just love that historical view of this country and the way we used to travel it. And I'm also trying to figure out what I can do to get your books to be available for sale at our site, since people will be on Route 66 while they're stopping at my truck stops. So I'm working on that. I know it's probably hard to pick a favorite, but of all the different stories you heard and the different links to the sporting venues and the people and stuff, is there a favorite, or are there one or two that just really, maybe not a favorite in a happy way, maybe a sad way, just some that really you still think about today that have made an impact on you?
When you look at a town like Seligman, Arizona, where almost every town there has some kind of, or almost every business there rather, has some kind of Route 66 signage. They take a lot of pride in the Route 66 heritage there in Seligman. The only sports there is Seligman High School. They're the Antelopes, but that is such a rich Route 66 town, but there's not much there. When the town was bypassed by I-40, as is the case with a lot of Route 66 towns, Genoa, Illinois, but the town suffered, and so like the Seligman Antelopes used to be a big powerhouse in football and other sports, and now as the population dwindled, the local team suffered because they just didn't have the population to have the depth for good quality sports teams. But so that's kind of a sad thing. I would have loved to have seen Seligman 60 years ago in its heyday. But there are other towns like Pontiac, Illinois, or Tucumcari, New Mexico, that are just awesome. And Pontiac hosts the oldest holiday high school basketball tournament in the country. It started in 1926, and I interviewed Jim Drangwitz, who's he's been the tournament director for a couple decades now. And there was a year when Jabari Parker was at Chicago Simeon, where people traveled from Toronto to watch Jabari Parker play in Pontiac, Illinois between Christmas and New Year's. Chicago Simeon is a regular participant in that tournament, and they have one of the best high school basketball programs in the country. And then Tucumcari, New Mexico. By the way, if you go to Tucumcari, you got to stop in the Powwow Lizard Lounge and say hi to Jerome. That's the big lizard that they have there. Not a real lizard, by the way, but that's Jerome, though. But Tucumcari, though, has just so many Route 66 motels like Motel Safari or the Blue Swallow, and you can still stay in those places today. But one surprising thing that I learned from Cuba, Missouri, all the way down through Williams, Arizona, was how big rodeo is. That was not something I was expecting to find. And Tucumcari they have a community college there, Mesa Lands Community College. But here's the thing about college rodeo. The 2-year schools compete with the 4-year schools. So Mesa Lands is competing with the Arizona States or some of the other big four-year schools, and they're good. And their coach Matt Hughes, who I interviewed for the book, he was the national coach of the year in 2018. Tucumcari has won Mesa Lands Community College has won a national championship under the previous coach. They've sent several, or they have produced several professional rodeo cowboys and cowgirls, and so that's one of the more surprising things that I learned was just how big rodeo was, and it doesn't really get any bigger than Tucumcari with Mesa Lands Community College, and in dinosaur fossil festival that they have there. That's when Tucumcari, when Mesa Land Community College hosts its big collegiate event.
So many things I'm running through my mind. I'm like, I bet you probably saw the world's largest ball of twine. Like, there's all these weird things that people.
We did see that one. We did see the world's largest ketchup.
Oh, really?
We did not see the world's largest ball of twine, but we did see the world's largest ketchup bottle in Collinsville, Illinois. And
all right, that's
Collinsville also has a pretty good horse track called Fairmont Park, where on Tuesdays you can play horse hooky and get in for like $1.50, and they got cheap beer and cheap food, and Fairmont Park is one of the more popular spots around St. Louis for horse racing fans or just people who like to party.
Oh, okay. I'm in.
Yeah, I like to party.
Every single town on this route of some of the stuff I was reading that you're putting out is just so fascinating. And it's amazing how you found all this out. And I know you and I had talked a little bit about the cover of the book, because I think a lot of Bears fans will recognize that stadium. And you said you guys took that picture. I believe your wife took that picture from her cell phone. That's Soldier Field.
We got really lucky with the sunset. I mean, it's a beautiful picture. There's a better one on the inside if you flip. It's the full two page here, and
oh wow.
Yeah, we
wow.
And then if you turn the page, then there's a picture I took of the Oklahoma City Thunder Arena, and then the next page is the table of contents. But then after that, it's the minor league baseball stadium in Joliet, Illinois, with the entrance, and the Joliet Slammers, because they've got the famous prison there in Joliet, and their mascot is a black crow in like the old gray and black stripe outfit, so their mascot is a jailbird. But Slammers though also goes with baseball.
I love
what was that,
stories
Kate?
and pictures. You get stories and pictures.
Yeah. So I'm the Slammers. Their stadium used to be called Route 66 Stadium, but now it's DuPage Medical Group Field. It just rolls off the tongue, right? DuPage Medical Group Field.
I need that on a shirt.
Right. Yeah. Right. But there is still a sign in downtown Joliet that directs you to Route 66 Stadium. So I like that. There's just I spoke with Kurt Herron in Joliet. He's worked for the Joliet Herald for 30, 40 years. I met him at a high school soccer game, actually. We talked. And then I interviewed the track president at Chicagoland Speedway, which is right outside of Joliet. So again, I did about 60 interviews for this book. There are about 300 photos in it. I'm really proud of it. I was fortunate enough to get media credentials for some things. So like with college football, I went to Illinois State football, University of Tulsa football, Northern Arizona University football. UCLA comped me a ticket for a game at the Rose Bowl against Cal for the last game of the season in 2019. The University of New Mexico gave me media credentials for one men's and one women's basketball game at the famed pit in Albuquerque at University of New Mexico. And then the LA Lakers issued me a media credential. So like I got to interview after a game on November 29th, 2019 against the Wizards. I talked to LeBron James, Anthony Davis, and Dwight Howard for this book. So
that is incredible.
So I'm really proud of it. You talked about the football connection earlier, Lisa. One guy who was big at the University of Miami was Jeremy Shockey, and he's from Oklahoma and went to college at Northeast Oklahoma, or started college rather at Northeast Oklahoma before he transferred to Miami, and that's right along Route 66 in the town of Miami, I believe. That's where Northeast Oklahoma is, and it's not Miami, it's Miami, named after the Native American people who are indigenous to that region. And those are some of the notes that I sent you earlier, Lisa. Yes. But just up from Miami is Commerce, Oklahoma, which is Mickey Mantle's hometown.
You can always find stuff like that.
And Northeast Oklahoma College is in Miami.
Okay.
And, but yeah, Jeremy Shockey was there, and so Ernest Givens went there.
Wow.
So.
And it's incredible that how many people live along this road that probably don't know half of the history and that you're going to educate everybody on. That's what I find so fascinating, and I'm just real excited for you. So where can tell everybody where they can get the book? Is it, I know Amazon, Barnes and Noble, it's available for download pretty much anywhere, Ron, right?
Yeah. I actually stopped into a library here, hoping to get into the county libraries here around Sonora and Groveland around Yosemite. But so you can get it at Walmart, Barnes and Noble, Books A Million, Amazon. You can the Kindle version on Amazon will cost you about $10. Of course, there you're not going to have the
pictures.
You're not really going to be able to see the pictures
right
as well as you would with a hard copy. The book is $25.95 if you were to order it from any of those publications or any of those outlets rather. And it should be in a lot of bookstores. You don't necessarily have to go online. If you go to your local bookstore and they don't have it, ask for it and they can have it shipped there, and then you can pick it up. And one big thing that bookstores want to know is it available via Ingram, which is a big book distributor? And yes, it is.
Okay.
It's available via Ingram, so that's big to get it into as many bookstores as possible.
Yeah. Great, and we'll have all the information for you guys on our Facebook, on our Twitter, on our official
Instagram.
website. Definitely can look that. And once again, it's A Sports Fan's Guide to Route 66 by this man, Ron Clements. Ron, thank you so much for taking the time to join us.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa and Kate. I really appreciate it. I could not be more proud of this book. And someone tweeted at me the other day, I hope it sells 1 billion copies. And I'm just like, yeah, from your keyboard to God's ears.
Well, I know we'll all get a copy, so definitely excited. And like I said, look for our Facebook, Twitter websites. We'll have the book definitely available for you guys too. Once again, Ron, thank you very much, and we'll look forward to talking to you again.
Bye-bye.
All right. Cheers. Appreciate it.
Cheers.
Super fun. All I keep thinking about is the movie Cars.
Yes, exactly. And
right?
Another thing,
because that's what happened to that town. They moved the highway and took another route, and that whole
right.
town died. And he mentioned a couple, but I know there are so many along
right.
old Route 66 where those towns just died when the highway moved.
Just how many people live along that road that have no idea of the history related to any kind of sports? I mean, Highway 66. I mean, it's been around forever. The Grapes of Wrath in the film. There's the picture of Highway 66. So it was just fascinating, and I learned so much from the book just reading some of the extras. I don't even have the book actually. I can't wait to get the book. And I do understand you guys are kind of telling me. I know Ron was coming in and out. He was having probably a little bit of internet issues, but you still get the gist. A Sports Fan's Guide to Route 66. like I said, I definitely worth grabbing a copy. So appreciate Ron coming on. So I know
Ron
we had
says
a
there's
little
actually an attraction in Galena, Kansas called Cars on the Route that you can go see.
It's crazy,
Now I'm
right?
making a list of things I want to go do.
Exactly. And how fascinating and incredible that him and his wife can do that and travel around and do that. Speaking of traveling
I don't know
around,
how y'all did during COVID. My husband and I worked from home, a
Mhm.
home, not an RV, a home for 2.5 months. And I'd like to kill him. I was like, dude, you need to go to the office. I can't spend every day looking at you. I couldn't even imagine the amount of time they spend together in the confined space of an RV. That's a strong marriage right there.
Right, exactly. And it's a strong marriage because you also have a Packers fan and a Bears fan.
And we've talked about those mixed marriages, Lisa. They tend to run into trouble. They run into problems. My niece is a Browns fan, married to a Steelers fan. I'm worried about their children and what that's going to be like. I guess if you have the right perspective and if you can channel your stuff into sports and then leave it at sports and not let it carry over into anything else, then it works. So maybe it doesn't matter if you like different sports teams or if, he likes cars and you like gardening or whatever. Most couples have differing things that they like to do. It always strikes me as hilarious when it's sports because I know you're the same way about the Dolphins as I am about the Browns. I am so hardcore. Like I could not date a Steelers fan. I couldn't.
Yeah, I couldn't.
Thank God I'm married to a Browns fan. I couldn't spend I don't care how amazing and awesome and wonderful they were. I wouldn't be able to get past that. And apparently not everyone takes their sports as seriously as we do.
I couldn't even imagine walking into my house and seeing that Kelly puke green jet color or the red, white, blue Buffalo Bills. I'm like, really?
I don't even wear that color. There's no black and yellow in my wardrobe.
No.
Like I can't even wear that color.
Speaking of our teams,
yes,
Miles Gaston. Miles Gaston, is that his name? No.
Miles Garrett.
Miles Gaston. God, why do I did that earlier? I did that with one of our Twitter friends, who is one of our dear friends, Doc Flynn. I was down in Miami talking to guys and talking about injuries. And I said, yeah, and I talked to Doc Rivers. Where did that come from? Just came right out of my mouth. Doc Rivers?
Because you still got Phillip Rivers on a brain.
I was just like, what are you talking about? Get your names right. So anyway, I was talking about him today because we're talking about injuries and hamstrings and stuff like that. And to me, we know what the guy can do. Just sideline him. Let him rehab. He doesn't need preseason, right?
Right. No, he doesn't. He's going to be rested. So's Denzel Ward. He's a little sore after we had the orange and brown scrimmage. I don't know about any other teams in the NFL, but 30,000 Browns fans turned out to watch a practice this weekend because that's awesome, how we do. Awesome. They were tailgating in the Muni lot at 8:00 in the morning, Lisa, for practice.
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
and it's funny. Is
crazy.
We were talking about that, about how it's just practice. I always go back to the Allen.
It is.
It's just practice, and how crazy this year seems to me. And I think it honestly is because last year we didn't have it. So I think any means of any kind of a football involved is just
Yeah, and Browns fans tailgated for practice and went crazy before COVID, but it feels like even now we actually have a good team, right? Like we have a team who I think is going to win 13 games, but they're easily a double-digit win team, which is not what we've had before. So we were usually tailgating and pre-gaming to get us drunk so we didn't have to pay attention to the final score for those 1-16 seasons and the 0-7, the 0-16s that we survived.
Right.
So we're just so excited to get the season underway. And then there's not a lot of talk about Garrett's, pulling his hamstring. The biggest topic of conversation around here is really Baker Mayfield and his contract extension and what they're going to do with him, because Josh Allen got paid. And so now everybody and their brother is speculating on what it's going to take to keep Baker Mayfield. And then you've got, as always happens, especially on Twitter, the trolls who are like, Baker isn't that good. We don't need him. He don't need to get paid. And I'm just like, shut up. He is going to come out. He's going to be fine. It sounds like talks have kind of been put on the back burner, that there's no issue between the front office and Baker. They've just decided, you know what? We're in no rush to do this. We got a season coming up. We got football to focus on.
Right.
Let's get this season going and we'll commence accordingly afterwards. So I think they're trying to make a lot of drama out of a situation that shouldn't be dramatized, because there's just not a lot of stories coming out of camp. There hasn't been a brawl. There's nobody complaining in the locker room. There's nobody holding out. And you can feel this is now the second year of Stefanski, and you can feel the culture change, like in a physical, palpable way,
Right.
that everyone from Odell Beckham Jr. all the way down is just so excited to hit the field and play good football. And so people are trying to make drama where there just isn't any. But you were down at Dolphins camp this week. You still have quarterback drama going on down there?
Oh, we always have quarterback drama because it's just practice. And it's like if he misses one throw, it's like, oh my God, he sucks. Or if he has one fantastic throw. But what I always find fascinating is in practice is you're going against your teammates. You're not hitting hard. You're not, you are. The pads go on. It's a little bit better when the pads go on, because you can start knocking balls down and kind of running into people. So, when you go back to pass and you see the edge guy come and kind of tap the quarterback as you're going along, then the quarterback streams a rocket down the field and it gets caught and the fans go crazy. I'm sitting there going, well, he'd have been on his ground in a real game because 15 would have just nailed him.
Right.
So I'm excited because, contract disputes finally over with Xavier and Howard. They got that settled. He's going to stay put in Miami, which he's a huge part of our offense. But once again, it's hard to me of who has good camps, who has bad camps. I just can't gauge it yet. I mean, I'm still on the fence with two. I think a lot of fans are. Until that
second day of training camp.
Right. So, and then, but this week I'm excited because we got joint practices coming up, and then all of us have preseason games. So at least you'll get to see your second and third stringers. Yeah, you'll probably see your first stringers maybe a game. Some aren't playing at all. Some will have a couple series. I mean, starting to see it trickle down now. Some of the coaches are coming down saying, the Bears starting lineup per Nagy will just see a couple series and then they'll be out. Flores is we're the mini Patriots down here. It's tight-lipped until probably like an hour before the game.
Yeah.
But you got to give him. You got to give us some starts.
Yeah, our second day of training camp, there were people on Twitter going off because Jadeveon Clowney got behind the line and tapped on Baker and the other quarterbacks multiple times, and then they were like, okay, so is the offensive line bad, or is Clowney that good, or is it just practice? It's just practice.
It's practice.
It's So we got we've got a joint practice with the Giants this week, which has caused all kinds of speculation and questions about the brawl they had, and are we concerned about it? And Kevin Stefanski's pretty much just been no. And then I believe our first preseason game is against the Jaguars. Okay. So we'll get to see Trevor Lawrence and see. Exciting. It'll be interesting to see how many series he gets as a rookie. If he stays in the game a little longer than Baker and my first starting defense, if they give him a few more just to let him get a little used to the speed of the NFL, son.
Yeah,
I don't care if you played in the SEC. You ain't seen defenders with this kind of speed before, boy.
Yeah, and I always find it funny. It's like, oh, he's struggling in camp. Oh, really? Okay.
He should be.
He should be.
Because if he's not, because if he's not, then you're running a college or a high school offense, and you're going to get the field's just going to wiped up with you. He should be struggling to learn this. This is a different thing. He needs to learn. He'll be fine.
And it's either people love preseason or people hate preseason. It's that medium to where it's like, okay, it's just preseason. Okay, you're starving for it. The first week comes, you're excited. Second week, you're like, oh, come on, when's the season going to start already?
I like it just because I like the process of filling out the roster. I like to see those guys that were drafted in the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, see if they can make the 53. I like these undrafted free agents. There's a lot of names out there of people that have been accepted into camps to see if so I like kind of those underdog stories of seeing, who's going to Tom Brady got drafted in the 5th round, right? So there's going to be someone on a team who got drafted late, who's not only going to make the roster, but who may end up starting week 1 and he's going to make a name for himself this year. And I like to watch those kind of stories and see if there's anyone that I notice either at camp here for the Browns or even as I'm watching preseason games, any of the guys that are just trying to stand out. So
yeah, it'll be interesting. So anyway,
yeah,
that's all I got. I mean,
That's all I got.
That's all I got. That's all you got. Next week, same bat time, same bat channel. I think we'll have our Dana back with us. I'm not sure if Sonia will be hanging with us too. Yeah. But we will see you guys in 1 week right here on our YouTube channel. So, Kate, it's been real. I want to thank Ron again.
It's been awesome, Lise.
All right, bud. I will catch you later.
Yep. All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye, guys.